welcome to Jay. Welcome to Lauren. People have come from really interesting places. I just met someone that flew in from Miami, and we have someone that flew in from Denmark for this. That's cool. Jay just schlepped his way here from Alaska, and Lauren got herself on a train and came on up. And we are so grateful to both of them for coming because you have amazing tech expertise. Jay, you've been an incredible champion in the guide. Both of them have been huge supporters of this work, which is rare. It's actually quite hard when you call someone to get an answer, to get anyone to engage. And when we called and said, hey, we're doing this Tech Yourself guide, I mean, you guys were all over it. You were amazing. You went in, you left comments, you worked on it immediately. So Jay and Lauren, thank you so much. And we are very grateful to Alaska and Missouri for lending us them for the day. So I wanted to start with just letting you guys each briefly introduce yourself and what you're doing with your state.
Great. Hi, I'm Lauren Gepford. I'm the Executive Director for the Missouri Democratic Party. I've been in this role for a couple of months now. Prior to this, I was the Data Director on the U.S. Senate Coordinated Campaign in Tennessee for Phil Bredesen, and over the last 10 years or so, I've worked on various campaigns, mainly in the data and tech realm, as well as lower campaign management. And I did about a year at NGP Van as well. So you'll probably hear me today talk a little bit about their tools since I know a lot about them.
I'm Jay Parnway. I'm the Executive Director of the Alaska Democratic Party. I've been in that role for 2.5 years. Prior to that, I've served as the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, of the South Carolina Democratic Party, the North Carolina Democratic Party, and I spent 2 years at Governor Dean's direction when he was chair of the DNC in Mississippi, working with their Democratic Party there. So unfortunately, I can't keep a job, and secondly, I have the distinction of having been the executive director of the most Democratic parties in the country ever. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I do. And while Lauren is the tech brains, I can try to put it in lay people's terms, I guess, for how we do it. But that's my background.
I think we think you like a little bit of torture because it's not always
No, I don't work in the most
job.
blue of places, or no, right, that's right.
Oh, well, thank you guys again for coming. Talk to us about state party innovation, because this year, for the first time, we're all still getting to know each other because such an influx of new people came into politics that we're just going down the chain trying to meet everyone we didn't meet. And this was the first year I met Tina Podlowski, and I met you both, and I met Brad Martin and Ken Martin and everybody, and you guys are awesome, and it's just been so great to have you here and in these projects. So talk to me about state party innovation, because as far as I can tell, there's so much of it.
Yes, I'll jump first, Lauren, if that's okay. There's a lot going on, actually. State parties are often overlooked. We're a central cog in the wheel, but we're not the sexy places to be. Campaigns are sort of on the front line. Candidates are on the front line. People know about the DNC, and most people who have dealt with the state party either love them or hate them. There's really nothing in between. And so much of this work that we do is really not talked about much. And I'll just be honest, I think many of us struggle to stay ahead of the game. State parties are not where most of the money resides. So for us to engage in new technologies, to stay on cutting edge, on the sort of the forefront, we have to have amazing partners. There's a lot of great work going on out there. Of course, we're the most proud, just from a data and technology standpoint, with our cooperation with the DNC on bettering our data file and voter file every day. But secondly, things like Texas is really pioneering for state party work, their work with chatbots. They've found Texas is such a large state that is really the way in which they have found to engage their volunteers and activists. You have states like Kentucky that these are, Kentucky's not necessarily known as a deep blue state. They have, to try to maximize money, have really gone to where they're using far more digital work and complementing their mail programs with digital work. Then in states like North Carolina, for instance, they've found ways to really up their digital game, and they've found a great way to mirror to open up their Slack channels, as well as not just traditional digital ads, but they've used a relationship tool to actually engage and get better data from voters in targeted districts that they can put back on the voter file. And we're all, I think, doing much more work with digital ads and social media, but to stay, and also relationship digital organizing tools really are becoming our mainstay because they're so much more cost effective than staff, and it allows us, and human capital is the most important, but we're able to spend our money more wisely. So I know that's going on, as well as all of us are doing other things. I know Lauren's got some pretty specific things she's done as well.
Oh yeah, just to add to what Jay said, in Tennessee last cycle, we used some relational organizing tools, some of which are here today, like Team, Outvote, Voter Circle. Those are being utilized now. But like you mentioned when you were first speaking, the adoption is the biggest hurdle. We need to teach people how to use these. As a state party, we have a pretty big albatross of campaigns and local parties beneath us. And so if we know how to use it, that's not really saying much. We got to get a lot of other people who know how to use it too. So I like to adopt new tools, but usually just one at a time. I would also add SMS is one of the big ones that has become a little bit more palatable and easy for people to use. I feel like the amount of people who can take Hustle out of the box or Open Progress or something and know how to use it, those numbers have definitely gone up. I like to say we need to get back to basics a lot of times though, because I still have county parties, local Democratic clubs that don't have email lists or don't have a website or a place to sign up for an email list or any kind of online fundraising, or they don't understand what Act Blue means or any kind of alternatives. So I spend a lot of, I think state party innovations, it can be perceived in a couple different levels. You've got number one, which is like, are you entering your data into a CRM? Do you know what a CRM is? Do you have a website? And like level two, maybe, are you segmenting and talking to the right person with the right message at the right time? Are you, emailing your pro-choice supporters with pro-choice related fundraising asks and doing some kind of organic online ads and trying to earn media in a way that really brings everything together. So your tech and your digital should surpass field, fundraising, political, and candidate recruitment as well. And then like step three could be relational organizing, enhanced digital tools like relational organizing. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at it, but one thing that we're looking at doing in Missouri is one of the new NGP van tools, or not new, but you can create online forums to have people sign up for events, and that's something that's going to be really helpful for our local parties. In my state, we have 115 counties, and they all have their own events, and they go through delegate selection. So even being able to keep track of online events via one portal and database is just a huge improvement compared to where some people are in the past, which is, still on pen and paper or Excel or Google Sheets or something like that. So,
and that's an innovation. And then I talked to Tina as well this year, and Tina with Washington built a beautiful funnel of all the seats you can run for with all the data. and Jay, talk to me about what your state is doing in the area of innovation.
So there's a couple things. We have a huge geographic challenge in Alaska. I don't know if you realize this, but there are really only a few highways in the state. And we actually call it the rail belt because the Alaska Railroad runs alongside most of the highways, and you can't really get to most of our villages and our communities. About 60% of the state lives on the highway system, and 40% lives in complete remote rural places. A couple ways, so traditional canvassing doesn't really work in a village of 50 people, nor can we afford to send. I mean, think about it this way. To piggyback on some of the things Lauren said too, our county parties are all volunteer across the country. So we're managing an all-volunteer activist force for party business, which is often separate and apart from the work we're doing on campaigns. And then our campaign activity typically falls for most states under a legislative caucus program, or it falls under a coordinated campaign, and that's a whole set of other things. So I don't know about how innovative it is, but what we've certainly seen, at least in our state, which is so remote, is that we've gone almost completely digital in our rural communities, and because it's the only way we can involve them. And we have the distinction of having the highest per capita involvement with Facebook in Alaska, because there are places that cell phones still don't really work well. So even texting tools aren't completely perfect, but we can talk to people much more effectively through digital ads. Now, we're not quite, Beth talked about earlier, we're not quite into a two-way communication, but we're getting there. And we also do so much, the way we connect people, if it's not digitally, it's all video or through online in some form or another.
Right, and it's funny because, my perception, or I think maybe, it's something you wouldn't think of, that the state parties are so digital, but you are.
Well,
you have to be. And talk to me a little bit, like when you build something, how do you share it? Do you give each other the code? Do you share it? Or is that an area that can be improved right now?
Share it internally.
No, state to state.
Okay, so that's a fabulous question. It depends. I mean, honestly, the DNC, I will give Chairman Perez enormous credit. From a technology perspective, the DNC is doing a much better job of sharing tools with and making them available to all the states. The other thing that we do is, even though we're diverse, all 57 of us, because the territories are state parties too, we gather 2 or 3 times a year. We spend a lot of time talking about what we're doing in our states. We do regular monthly conference, or every other month conference calls with executive directors. The chairs do a monthly conference call where these kinds of things are talked about, but we can do a better job. I think the party as a whole, we are just faced with so many things, from whether it be human resource issues to campaign issues to just organizational issues within the party, that all of these things get sucked up at these meetings. So we can do a better job of sharing our work, because honestly,